Vanakkam, Namaste, and blessings to everyone. This is Dr. Bhairavi Balasubramanian, PhD, the Sky Priestess. Today, I'd like to talk to you about the upcoming solar eclipse, and it's a big one. We see the Sun and the Moon conjunct at 20 degrees Cancer, and both of them oppose Pluto at 20 degrees Capricorn. There's a lot of good writing out there that teaches you what each of these alignments mean and how you can use them in understanding the journey through the underworld of the psyche. There's a lot of good stuff that's been written about this eclipse. So I'm here to talk to you about the stuff that's probably not been written about as much. Now, summarizing a lot of different alignments in the sky, this particular eclipse is bringing out a lot of, well, as with every eclipse, truly, it is bringing out a lot of karmic dynamics. Karmic dynamics that go back through the life cycles. It goes way beyond what you can remember being incarnated in the here and now. And it's the kind of energy that actually allows us to change or alter the cosmic blueprint that we see manifest not only in ourselves, but in our families and the traditions of the culture or the society that creates the family system in and of itself. And on the other hand, because Pluto and Capricorn is involved, we also see the opportunity to transform the way in which we configure our relationship with institutions and structures of authority and power. So Cancer is focusing on the family, domestic, intimate, interior, feminine side of things, though that is kind of a stereotype, but it's also true in a certain way. The feminine archetype, whereas Capricorn is really talking about the energy that deals with the outworld, what we show in the public domain and realm. Again, very summarized description. So what we are really seeing here is the reconfiguration of both internal and external structures. Now, the way in which karmic timelines and contracts and all that jazz plays into it is rather complex. But what you need to know is this. A lot of old stuff is coming up from way back when. We are processing it as individuals who are members of a much larger collective force, you can call it. And what is coming up to the surface in a way that can invoke, or rather evoke and provoke a lot of conflict. Because Pluto is somewhat of a drama queen. In its quest to find healing and wholeness and completion and transformation and regeneration, Pluto can drag us kicking and screaming into the drama cycle. This is something that you can avoid if you wish, which is why I'm making this video. So with Pluto opposite the solar eclipse right now, we are really asked to go deep into ourselves to find out how we configure our relationships to the inner world and the outer world. How do we deal with our emotions? Where do we hide them? Where do we display them? Where do we say emotions have no role in our public life, in what we do as part of the larger society? The same question goes to the archetype of femininity and the mother, which is very strongly underlined and underscored during this eclipse. The moon typically represents the feminine, it typically represents the mother, the sun typically represents the masculine. But in other astrological traditions, the relationship is reversed, and also other symbological traditions. But either way, there's been a lot of talk about inner parents and outer parents, the way we understand the merging of the feminine and masculine archetypes within and how it gets reflected in the world. Again, you're going to be seeing a lot of this mirroring going on. So on the one hand, whilst it's great to bear all of this in mind intellectually, at the energetic experience, you're just going to be feeling this, because this is a solar eclipse in Cancer. It is going to be activating the emotional body. It is going to be bringing up currents and waves of ancestral energy that you have no words for. So whilst the concepts help, the experience is what really counts right now. And you're just going to be pulling up and dragging up and allowing yourself to really get deep in the mud to drag out the weeds that have taken root there. And sometimes you might find something you thought was a weed was actually medicine in disguise. That is a different thing. But what you can do for yourself and for the collective is to allow the space of this incredibly complex and powerful process to occur in as gentle and as loving a manner as possible. And this is especially important because of what Pluto signifies. Yes, on the one hand, drama, crisis, conflict. On the other hand, regeneration, transformation, birth, death, rebirth, and all of that alchemy. But at a physical level, it can also signify violence. And so a lot of conversations surrounding the use and abuse of force and violence and boundaries in the world are going to be taking place. Some of you are going to have these conversations in very, very, well balanced, holding space kind of ways, and that's great. And some people are not going to be able to have those conversations. They're going to be acting it out too. So this is a time for those who feel extremely provoked or those who feel extremely vulnerable to make sure that they can find safe spaces. Go to facilitators who are able and willing to hold that space for you in a consistent way. If you feel it's too intense, this might not be the time to do very deep or very heavy work for you. For those of you who feel like you are in a situation where your life or your emotions or your sanity is under threat, walk away from that situation and find something safe. Because for some of you, this is really going to bring situations that are already simmering to the boiling point. Like I said, Pluto, pretty much a drama queen, teaches you a lot of lessons, but very often in a very painful way, which is unnecessary, by the way. When we collectively shift and transform our relationship with Pluto, we can talk more about the happier ways we can access, the alchemy of Genesis. But anyway, so getting to other things. Now, there's another alignment that I've been having my eye on, and that is the conjunction between the North Node and Therius. At 6 degrees Leo, the mean calculation of the North Node, it is opposing Mars in the sky. And to me, the Therius placement has always been an important one to keep an eye on. It's not talked about as much as it should be, really, because Therius talks about the patterns of predation. It talks about the ways in which we unknowingly become victims. Or rather, perhaps in more subtle vein, we imbibe that architecture of victim consciousness. Therius is effectively a hunter who stalks bears. And he just sits and he watches and watches and watches and watches bears going about their business. And when he wants them, he goes into the cave, beats the bear on the head, drags it out, kicking and screaming. Which is why I tend to call it the bastard asteroid when I'm feeling quite pissed off with it. But I have noticed in pattern of global events and life cycles of individuals, when the Therius alignment is activated, it is often a place where that person has to face their aggressor. Whether it is something in the astral plane, whether it is a family member, whether it is something that you've internalized in yourself, whether it's a parasite entity attachment, this is the time all of that stuff is going to be coming out of the woodworks. So metaphysical healers, keep your guard up. When working with clients, doubly so. People who are in spiritual practice, get your protective gemstones out. Jet, obsidian, smoky quartz, black tourmaline, pyrolusite, shattuckite, heliodor. All of this stuff is going to be a help. So too, elite noble shungite. I'm going to leave it to you to look up all those crystals. But all of these things can be used to, in some sense, create a bubble or a layer of insulation between you and that sheer volume of collective stuff arising through you. Remember, it's not just about how you progress as an individual. It also comes down to your DNA at the cellular level, at the energetic level. It also comes down to the life cycle and history of this planet and the many beings that live on this planet and associated realms. There is just a lot going on. So slapping on your metaphysical gloves before going in is a good idea. Other things that you can do, just bear in mind that when you are confronting these patterns in yourself at a cellular level, at least the way we use the word cellular in this domain, in this field, there is a sense of heaviness that we encounter when we look at structures, patterns, often patterns of abuse, aggression, victimization, and so on. When we encounter these patterns, there is a stiffness and a resistance that the body tends to feel. Because parts of us have been conditioned to thinking that this is the way to live. Parts of us cannot imagine a reality in which this is no longer required, but this does not need to be the case. But the resistance is likely to come up. And that is okay. That is normal. It just means that for a certain part of your journey and your evolutionary process, that paradigm may have been what you required to move forward. Is it a good paradigm, bad paradigm? I'm not here to judge. But allow yourself to actually move through that resistance. Even if it's not moving, allow yourself to be aware of it. And that alone will create an energetic shift in your process and the process of everyone's lives whom you touch. Now, another thing that I would recommend, highly, highly recommend, is the use of frankincense essential oil right now. It is great for maintaining energetic boundaries and for clearing energetic space. There's also a lot of other things that can help with that. Basil is another one of my favorites. Now, in terms of using the colors that came to me today were magenta and gold. I feel that these are two very protective colors that you can use in visualization surrounding yourself, loved ones, families, homes, projects, clients, whatever you're doing. Just make sure everything is done with consent and free will. But these are colors that you can use in your meditation. These are colors that you can use as an additional layer of defense and protection at this time. It is very, very wise not to go all Capricorn style and go gung-ho into a situation. Use your tools. Talk to your guides. Reach out to the collective consciousness that has a plan that all of us are participating in. You do not need to, don the mantle of the superhero and try to carry the weight of the world on your shoulders. That will help nobody. Do what you can. Allow, give permission for patterns that have felt stuck for so long in you that you didn't even realize that you were carrying to be released. Even setting that intention is fine, because the energy of eclipses kind of link up to one another across the span of hundreds of years. And you see them again and again and again at 18-year intervals. If you want to find out where you are today, look back to the eclipse of this series. You can look it up, the Saros cycle of eclipses, SAROS. Look at the Saros cycle of solar eclipses 18 years ago. And then look at the one after. And you will see a line of continuity that helps you understand just what is your process and what you are seeding at this time. You are able to manifest and create a different reality. And whilst we can't do so simply by imagining it overnight, by giving it the energetic space to manifest, we make the creation of that reality at the metaphysical level that much more likely, if not for us, then for the generations that will come. And that is the reminder that Pluto in Capricorn brings. Deal with this bullshit or your grandchildren will have to. And with that note, I'm going to end this video. Take care. Ciao, ciao. God bless. Bye-bye.